Welcome to Fat or Future. I'm Steve Williams, and I'm here with Justin Callahan. Say hi, Justin.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
So how's that new office working out?
Oh, it's wonderful. We are at our luxurious downtown estate. We have gloomy skies, but that's okay, and bright red chairs, apparently. So,
It looks like we're sitting across from each other.
Yes, we are. We just partook with a baguette and some afternoon tea, and now we are ready to go.
So we're trying out the new background feature in Microsoft Teams, so we're enjoying that today. So welcome everyone to our episode of Fat or Future. We've got 3 great topics today, right?
Yes, indeed. We've got 5G technology, we've got virtual conferences, and we've got streaming video games to end it off strong.
Oh, I can't wait. All right, let's jump right in. So 5G, tell me about it. What's your point of view? What things are concerning you with 5G?
5G, oh, where to start? I guess we could just start with the fact that is 5G really 5G? What is real? What is fake anymore? You can't really tell, especially when certain companies like AT&T decide to simply roll out an updated icon on the top of their corner, replacing that 4G LTE that we all know and love with a 5G icon. And ta-da, just like magic, you have 5G.
It's just an icon change? Oh, well then clearly it must be the future.
Well, it's really hard to design it in that really small graphic space. You see, you gotta get it shrunk down. But no, 5G technology is pretty interesting, especially with the fact that it has the potential for a lot more technology and more interesting features down the road.
Well, wait a second. Don't I think I already have it. Like my Wi-Fi at home is 5 gigahertz. Isn't that the same thing?
That is not the same thing. And that is definitely a question we get asked all the time. 5G, 5G, HZ, it all just blurs together after the end. That 5 gigahertz at home just lets you get the Wi-Fi faster and through walls a little bit better, but it does not mean 5G, which is the 5th, actually technically it's the 5th generation of cellular wireless.
Right, like at home it's 5 gigahertz. When we talk about cellular data networks, 5G is 5th generation.
Right.
But really this is all about bandwidth, right? So is it really going to be that big of a difference?
That's the question. I think my favorite, someone once posted that if you are standing on a street corner with your phone held in a specific position at a specific angle, then it's incredible. You can possibly pull down 1 gigahertz or 1 gigabit per second on your phone using 5G technology. It's amazing. But the challenge is that you have to be on that one street corner. The moment you change position or go down a block, then all of that can change. Now, that's what's known as millimeter wave technology, which is the newest one. That's the one where you're seeing these massive bursts of speed. But we're seeing a lot more progression towards more traditional style 5G, which is actually going to allow for it to permeate into buildings and allow you to get that coverage map that we know and we've come to expect with 4G LTE. So
there's a lot of hardware upgrades to do, so that's really going to be a big factor in this. New cell towers everywhere, right?
New cell towers everywhere and new phones, and those phones are not nice and slim. I think Samsung just released theirs, and the size of the 5G chip is significantly bigger, and apparently it sucks battery life like crazy. It is not power efficient. So we've still got a long way to go. We're definitely on the beginning of it, but let's look on the positive side. Let's see what it could enable in the future. So what do we got that could benefit from faster speeds with cellular? So I know, Steve, you've talked
smart
about those
cities.
before.
I mean, that's just the smart vehicles, smart cities. There's just a ton of stuff that's going to happen that needs that bandwidth. So it's going to be very important.
I agree, but I also know that a lot of people have reached the maximum high resolution for cat videos off the internet. So I think the thing is that
8K is going to happen.
8K plus AI plus 5G. That's the future right there.
Okay, so fad or future? What's your final take on it?
I say that the 5G as we know it is a fad. I think that the underpinnings and the infrastructure is going to be longer term, but that's not what we're seeing today, and that's not what they're talking about today.
All right, I think it's the future. I think that these hardware changes are going to happen quick. I think consumers are going to mass adopt like crazy, and the bandwidth need is just going to be real. That this is definitely going to change a lot of things very quickly. Just let's have this conversation in a year. All right, topic number 2.
Shay.
Virtual conferences.
Oh, virtual conferencing.
COVID-19 has really sprung the world into virtual conferences. Everything from the auto show out of Europe, major sporting events. There's a Grand Prix race. I heard that there's a race with no drivers. No fans. They're gonna have drivers. So you're gonna have drivers.
I don't know, Steve. I have not had any conversations this week about video conferencing with anybody. No, it's been very quiet. No,
not video conference, but the virtual conference in terms of the big events. That's what we're talking about.
Well, very true, very true. Virtual conferencing is kind of that bigger picture, right? The biggest one that I've seen is that I think Microsoft actually announced that all of their announcements, all of their major events, all the way up until Build 2021 are now going to be virtual.
Yeah.
So I think that was really kind of an interesting thing, especially with Microsoft. That, I know they hold a lot of the keys to different cloud environments and infrastructure, so it might be easier for them. But them saying that is a very massive investment into the virtual conferencing idea. They're going to be putting a lot of time and energy in making that virtual conference as attractive and as energetic as an in-person build conference.
Yeah, that's Microsoft. They own millions of petabytes, data centers. They're global. It's really what's it mean for the rest of the world. That's what we have to look at, whether we say fad or future. Can everybody make the same kind of investment that Microsoft can make?
Well, a famous person once say, if you build it, they will come. So if Microsoft builds out a virtual conferencing environment and then they turn around and start selling it piecemeal or subscription, that would allow a lot of smaller players to have very high-tech virtual conferences.
I think the conference idea, like its heyday was in the 90s. I think that was like the heyday of conferences. That's when they were these gigantic, remember Comdex? You had these big events that were huge. Even the consumer electronics shows changed over the years, and they've really changed, I think, in format. So I think COVID-19 is the death of the traditional conference. I definitely believe that this idea that, getting together for these events is just, it's kind of not necessary.
All right. Well, I think we've kind of settled on what our thoughts are. So you want to officially call it, Steve?
I'm going to call it future. I think that's the future. Virtual conferences are the future. Microsoft might set the trend and showing people how it's done, but I think there's going to be a lot of other formats out there that'll make it engaging, creating virtual events. I think future.
I definitely agree. I think it's the future. I think definitely it sounds like from our discussion, what that future might hold is up for question, but it's not going away anytime soon. That's very sure.
All right. Last topic today is streaming video games.
My favorite
for both gamers. The idea that you're going to take our games, take our consoles and PCs, and say we don't really need them, that we can play right off the cloud. Is that fad or future?
I feel very strongly in so many different ways about this topic. I can't even describe it.
You just want to let go of that Uber PC you had to build.
The Uber PC, that's it. But also, there was always the middle ground that seemed to be the worst of all three options, right? The middle ground of you having to turn on your Xbox and waiting an hour for a download of a game or a critical update. That's really what kind of seemed to make the biggest stressor points. So what's really interesting about streaming video games is it takes that all or nothing approach. Like either I'm going to be able to play the game or I'm not. And instead of you being reliant, the simple difference is that instead of you being reliant on the hardware functioning, you're relying on your internet connection functioning. And so you have one chain in the chain link fence that is reliant on, but at the same time, you have a lot of other little factors that don't happen. So I like the idea, but I'm still not totally sold that traditional bandwidth and traditional broadband providers can handle it. Really, that's my downfall.
You've been kind of set up today. So the first two topics, 5G and virtual conferences, play right into this conversation. I think that more bandwidth and people becoming more comfortable with doing things online just leads to virtual gaming, cloud streaming gaming. the way of the future. There's going to be a way to create more social interactions and more immersive experiences through cloud gaming, I think, than your traditional consoles. And again, what's one of the big reasons that we see so many businesses adopt cloud? The ability to embrace and get changes faster, get new versions, new experiences. Cloud gaming has that potential. Look, we're waiting now for the PlayStation 5 to come out later this year. How long have we been waiting for a new console? And this idea that our games can move with the cloud as far as taking advantage of better performance, new features, new releases, new content. I think cloud gaming's got all that for us. We're waiting on the console or waiting for the new card from NVIDIA. I mean, those are major investments. They take a long time. And I think it's just a case of getting it kickstarted. Now, I will give the one concession is that I expected cloud gaming to have more momentum by this time already. And so on that front, I think we've been a little let down. Google overpromised, Microsoft has overpromised, and Sony, I don't think has a clue what they're doing just yet. They're betting on the PlayStation 5. So while I do think it's the future, I think it's not moving as fast as I thought it would.
I definitely agree with that. And I think one of the biggest things is incentives for bundles. Streaming services or streaming video games in particular, but it has kind of followed or tried to follow that streaming video or the streaming market where you have a bundle. You don't have to worry about the piecemeal approach, the piecemeal purchases. You just pay one thing to one person and go. And Google has definitely really struggled on attracting a lot of large AAA titles to their streaming video games, which is definitely going to slow down the whole thing. Because if you're not being able to get those big ticket names, you're not going to get a lot of people willing to try out a new service, try to give up on the fact that they just bought this new Xbox One X or this new gaming PC. You got to get them interested, and especially that ease of flip the switch and go is going to be a huge factor.
I think you have a good point. We could probably talk a whole half hour on the publisher side of that equation in terms of the indie market versus the established publishers and what it takes to make a game today. But we have to wrap it up. So I'm saying future. What are you saying?
I'm saying fad, but I'm excited to be proven wrong.
Okay,
so.
Awesome. All right, well, good episode today. Thank you, Justin. Hope everybody enjoyed listening to us talk about a few topics. Please subscribe and leave your comments below. And we'll look forward to seeing you on our next episode of Fad or Future.